Everybody. My name is Jorge Olson, and today we will cover packaging design. Everything, some things you don't want to know about package design, primarily for consumer packaged goods. Anything that you want to design in consumer packaged goods, whether you're the CEO of a company, the president, the CFO, an investor, or maybe you are the lead designer on a project, this is for you, and I want to welcome you. We also have today Victor Enciso. Victor, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing okay, Jorge. I'm excited and glad to be here.
And again, my name is Jorge Olson, and Victor and myself have been working a long time together in many different projects across different companies. We've done private label products for Walgreens, for Target, for Rite Aid, for Albertsons, for a lot of different retailers, for wholesalers, for distributors. We've done products for ourselves. Victor and myself have owned different brands. We've done not just products, but programs as well. Tools, novelties, housewares, beverages, nutraceuticals, food, baby products, car accessories, anything that you can imagine. We've done.
That's correct.
And we've worked together not only in package design, but anything that has to do with the product. Warehousing. Victor and I have worked in the warehouse. We have been in the forklift. We have been, one time, like 1,000 cases fell on Victor at the warehouse. And not empty cases, there were cases filled with tools. We've been in the stores, we've been merchandising, we've been delivering, we've been doing store checks, we've done sales to distributors, to wholesalers, to retailers, project management. What else, Victor? Am I missing something?
I would say I remember you triggered something that I remember. Those boxes came from overseas, so we definitely have done some work overseas, working in China, working and bringing in products international. So that instance you recalled right now was definitely a scene that's very clear in my head. I think it was like 6 or 8 containers from China we need to distribute it. It came in late. So just to add to that, a couple of products that have been, all the, like you mentioned, you covered it, from supplies to any general merchandise, I would say.
And racks also, every type of display we produced, imported from China, from Mexico, racks, spinner racks, displays, counter displays, point-of-sale material, seasonal items.
Yeah.
Just a lot of different products, a lot of different programs, packaging, everything. And one thing that I always tell people about you, Victor, is that you're not a designer. It's a different thing just to have a designer. For me, a designer is somebody who sits in the computer and designs. You don't just do that. You do the research. You've been in the stores. You've been in the warehouse. You've done everything that is in a brand. So in essence, you are a brand director, not just a designer.
That is correct. I mean, by saying that, I mean, there's so many things and experiences that we've gone through, and some of them personal and some, of course, together, that have involved, plenty of success stories, and at the same time, a lot of our learning coming from, doing some mistakes, and some, thank God, nothing crucial, but some of them that, will have like the packaging, and some of them consisting on delivery, wholesale, the way they're going to be displayed. So we can say we've been through the whole full circle, the whole life cycle of the product, and also something also that we've done in and out programs. And for the people who don't know what that is, that's when you have a specific time of starting and an end date. Then they return the product to you. So there's certain things you have to consider in the product life cycle when that is. So I think you've covered most of it, and we've definitely learned from a lot of trial and error, which I think in any industry. It's always something that you get schooled and you learn, and you can always grow by those with those experiences.
That's right. And I see here that I have 3 years working in beverage development. Well, actually, it's more than 10, like this year, because it's more than 3. I mean, because it's more like 10. So in the bio, that was a mistake. I've been doing, and Victor has been doing this for. So we've been working together for more than 10 years, doing the product development, beverage development, nutraceutical development. Now, I'm also the president and CEO of a company called Premier Brands Incorporated. Premier Brands is a publicly traded company. You can look it up on your to see how we're doing, what we're doing. And we're also proud to be social entrepreneurs. And what that means is that we try ourselves and the companies that we help to make them give back to the community or to do products that will change the world. And over the last 10 years, we've developed a lot of products and worked with a lot of companies in order to push them to change the world. A lot of them do donations. A lot of them hire people from third world countries or minorities or other types of people for their projects. We're actually working on a directory now for social entrepreneurs. So if anybody's interested in becoming a social entrepreneur, just go to the website. You can go to this one here, Premier Brands Inc., and leave us a message there, an email, or send us an email, or call the office. You can see all the information here about what to do, how to approach it, how you can give back or start a project, which is a social entrepreneurship project. Let me continue now. Now you can see Victor here is also a terrific graphic designer because his picture looks much better than my picture. So that's a good thing for you, Victor. Now, this is our philosophy and the philosophy that Victor instills on the whole company. We have a company that works on product development, and that's what they do every day. We have everything from account managers to salespeople to people doing research, etc., just to handle your projects and your packaging. Now, Victor, explain to me a little bit the approach here for packaging, for brand, and for research and all that.
Well, it'll vary, as you know. We get all sorts of customers. We have customers who have already existing products, are looking to rebrand the packaging, rebrand their products. And we also have a lot of entrepreneurs, which personally I enjoy very much, because they're at the same time we have companies who don't want to be that active as we have customers who do want to be active. So the first thing that really starts out, it comes out with an idea. And most people out there, have an idea. They don't know what to do with it. They picture it. A lot of them have visual mindset, so they will picture the product, but they don't know really what to do with it, how to convert that idea you have in your head to something that's on the shelf. So we try to help them with that process. I think a lot of my experiences that to get them to conceptualize the idea and actually make it viable, and that's where a lot of key things come in, as trying to teach and learn. For me, it's the experience to learn the idea, what the consumer what the consumer needs. But at the same time to grasp that idea and learn a little bit about the idea. And this is for anybody, any graphic designer out there, any entrepreneur who wants to come up with its own idea. And it's really about the research, trying to really get specific with what you have. And I think a lot of my responsibility as an expert in this, it's trying to guide the whoever's making the product to an actual concept, because it's very different to have an idea and to have a concept. So at first, we work with the idea. We try to fit it in to, to have that idea to where it fits in the market, and most of this is done by research. So the first step in the process always, Jorge, as you know, is the research. And this is where most of the ideas that we get, it's good and bad sometimes for the consumer. We've known, or the developer, because we know that a lot of them will bring good research to the table, and we'll work off of that. But a lot of people haven't. They do have terrific ideas, but at the same time, the research is not there, and it's very. I always strongly recommend this is the part of the developing cycle that really dictates how the product is going to look and going to have that concept. So first is turning your idea into an actual viable concept, and that's, we definitely try to help. And sometimes I'll be I might sound like the devil's advocate sometimes in asking questions that I'm not sure if whoever's developing the product has asked themselves. Is, do you have a target market? Do you know who's buying? What type of client? Where do you want to see it on the shelf? And sort of this sort of questions, simple questions, start taking into form, and it starts building the product, at least concept-wise. So that's pretty much where we start. I don't know if that answers the question, Jorge.
Yes, it does. And just for the audience there, packaging can be many different things, and different things to different people. Some people are developing a product, a consumer packaged good to sell in retail stores. It can be a nutraceutical, it can be a beverage, it can be food, it can be another type of consumer good. Everything that goes into that, we research and we put into consideration for packaging. Not just the look and feel, the label, and how it's going to be seen in the shelf. Much more than that. We always start, and some people know this because they've been in other webinars, we always start at the end. We always start with the consumer. We start our research with the consumer, and we move backwards. We call it reverse engineering. We start at the end, and we move backwards. We see what the consumer wants, what they like, the size that they want. How much are they willing to pay for it? What materials they want, the taste, everything. Then we go to the retailer and we do the same thing. Then we go to the distributor and we do the same thing. All the way down to doing your label, doing your product, your size, and everything that goes into now from the art side. So before we even get to pencil, we did a lot of research. Research with the retailer, research with the wholesaler, research with consumers, supply chain, competition, everything that you can imagine.
Correct. And just to add a little bit towards that, it's and this is something that's very common with entrepreneurs. They definitely want to see a render. They want to see a drawing of the product, and that's usually the first thing that they want, or they have their own. They've gone through some ideas, obviously done some research on the web sometimes, and they know what their product wants. They want it to look, and sometimes it is hard to hear, after the research, that is not the particular product you want on the shelf. That might not be the right size, might not be the right color, might not be the right font, and all of these come into play before you even start. And I think one of the things that really separates us from the pack is that the fact that we know how distribution works. And I think that has been a key element in my career that helps know this, because certain size, certain pallet size, how the racks and space, the schematics of the store. So if you can picture your we'll talk a little bit more about research, but if you can picture your product in the store, I mean, think of how it got there. Somebody paid for it. Do you have distribution centers? Where do you want to do it? So there's a lot of questions to be asked, and this is basically it's where when we get the new customers, we have to sit them down and explain the process. And this is not the fun part. Of course, when most people think that this is tedious and it might be taking a while, but this is core information that we cannot jump to the next step. And we will get to that, but I can't emphasize enough how much the importance of researching and before researching your market before you even go into design.
That's right. And one time you told me that a client said, I would never buy this product. It's not for me. And the product was for a young lady, and he was an old man. I think that was interesting. What happened there?
Well, this customer, and this is a customer I've designed various products. There was a certain relationship. He felt confident enough, and I was opening my computer and showing him some product. He said, oh my God, I would never buy this product. And I said, good. This is not for you. It's not directed towards you, and I wasn't expecting for you to buy it. I got a pause for like 3 seconds, and I thought like, oh, I think I said the wrong thing, and he just started laughing. He said, oh, you're right. You're right, and this is also something that's pretty hard sometimes for entrepreneurs to know, that the product might not be directed to you. There's product that I designed that are right up my alley. I am the consumer. And there's products sometimes that I don't, so that I would not buy. For instance, I've drank my share of energy drinks, but I do not drink them. I'll buy them and I'll taste them and I'll definitely research them, but I'm not that that market. But at the same, I'm a little bit more health conscious, but at the same time, you have to know that where your product lies, and this is again part of the research. But yes, I thought it was gonna fall into a trap there. But also, since it was early on, when I was doing just design, I noticed the importance of having that research and having the security that if I made that research, I can go out there and say, hey, this is not directed to you, and it's really something to consider, because a lot of people are really passionate about their ideas, and sometimes you have to be delicate in how you tell somebody that. But again, there was a relationship with this customer in particular.
And one thing here that we see in the slide is idea is the key. So people have an idea. They say, I want a product. This is my idea. What's next?
Yeah, and again, it's the first thing that for anybody who has an idea. I know that there's on our audience there are people out there who have the greatest idea, and I don't doubt that. I'm sure that there are people who have the next big thing, and this is something we hear all the time. We have the best idea. I mean, please don't tell anybody, or we need you to sign something. And it's funny that we've probably seen that idea, or we know about it, and it's already been in the market sometimes. And it's just a matter of, again, falling back to the research and what type of case studies can you get. For instance, somebody developing a juice or a beverage or certain vitamins that at the same time they might have a great proposition to offer, but the lack of research has gotten them to believe that it's really the next big thing, and sometimes it's really not. It's been out there. Somebody has done it, has tried it. Either it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It doesn't mean it's a bad product. It probably wasn't executed right. It probably wasn't sold in right, the price was off, and certain things like this. It's kind of a balancing act, really. But the main thing, and I don't know if I really emphasized this enough, even though it's kind of redundant now, but the main thing about this is research. Now, as far as going on research, there are multiple ways of doing this. Companies, we will hire to make surveys and have certain strategies on how they approach their research. They're very knowledgeable. They've been in the industry, or it's somebody just has an idea, and the first thing, of course, to do is for research is if you know the type of product you want, you have to also, like Jorge said, it's reverse engineering. Look at the consumer. What type of course, we have so much information available at our hands right now with search engines and books and videos and things that let us know what is going on with that and with that industry or with even that market. So think of your consumer. Think what clothes they wear, what they buy, what music they hear, what magazines they read, what things they like, and there's usually a pattern there. There's certain and it might be a look and feel, it might be a color, it might be it really is going to be a certain pattern once you consider that, and those are the things that start taken under consideration before you start developing. Write them down, very important. Write them down. What type of magazines? Go through them again, even at the start of the project is very important, but also throughout the process, throughout when you're creating your label, when you're choosing your colors, when you're look at the certain shapes and trends. Trends is something it's mostly impossible to keep up with, but it's really important that you find the sequence and the patterns there, because they are. And all this is the only way to do this really is through research. And there's a lot of people sometimes when we say research, I know that they go like, oh my God, then I'm out of the game. I can't do all this research. But the truth is, I do it with every product we do. I go out to the store where it's going to be directed, and I look at the refrigerators. I look at the POS. I look at the type of person that goes into that store. I'll sit down, have a snack there, and look really the colors that are in that aisle, how the schematics work in that store. So really, research is not something that should be discouraged and think only companies. Only huge companies really have access to this information, but no, it's really the importance of you knowing what it is. So the research is out there. It's just a matter of really putting the time into it and going to find it. So that would be the first thing. And I know it sounds a little redundant, but I really it's the first. That's really going to dictate where your product's going to be headed.
And remember, without research, you think you have a product, you think you're an original product, and then you see other people with the idea or with the product. So it's important that you do the research. Now, just because you do the research doesn't mean that you have to go out and buy data and spend 150 hours doing the research. That's not just what we mean. You have to start. There's different types of research. There's a research you do in the beginning, and then there's a research you do before you start your project. There are two different types of research. One can last some hours. Some can. You need a team. We have a research team, and the first research, we don't use the entire team. We don't go and buy information and scan data and see competitions and what was done 10 years ago. We just do research in the stores. We call distributors. We call wholesalers. And remember, we're on the phone every day, the whole day. We have full-time salespeople. And they're asking distributors, they're asking wholesalers, retailers what they want. If they tell us we don't want XYZ and you want to do XYZ, well, that's your research right there. We don't have to even open the computer. We know that it's going to be difficult to place. So research, can be divided into different things. Now, with your idea and with your research, once you do the research, then you have to go into the other things, right? You have to go into branding, design, trademarking, target market, etc. Tell us a little bit about this, Victor.
Well, once you start going into the target market, once you start noticing, the first thing you notice, and usually people do know very well, is their competition. The competition has probably done similar research, especially if it's a big corporation, and you can start there as well. Look at what they did, what was their approach, and it's really not the only approach. There's so many things and so many good ideas out there that will lead you into what you want. So once you gather all this information, it's time to start thinking about. Some people have, let's say, a good name. Actually, some of our customers, even today, we had a conference call on names, and that alone is a process because it triggers a mindset. It triggers people want to relate to the product, and this is something that is very commonly mistaken. Like when we go on, people will take most of their time in the fun stuff. Of course, they want to develop the logo, and they really want to have full access of what's going on with the logo and the name and the colors. And some people tend to even get lost in there, and that's only part of the process. And it's something that I did want to talk about, how the name and your logo is not your brand, and this is often confusing for some people. And because they think, I have a logo, it has the colors, it has my name, there you go, there's my brand. And this is a very common mistake. And one of the things you have to understand, either if you're the designer or you're the developer, you're the expert, something that you do have to understand. The logo is just an icon. The logo is something that it is important, and the name is also important. But that's going to turn into a concept. The concept is what's going to identify how you present yourself to the consumer. But that alone is not a brand. Just to keep it short, a brand is a relationship. A brand is it's how how people will identify with you, with your product, and what makes them feel, what makes them either if it's a product that'll make them laugh, that'll make them angry, that'll be and trigger any type of personality, like a person. I personally like to refer to say, a brand. You choose a brand like you choose your friends, and that is, at first you visually, of course, you have to like it. There has to be a visual attraction, and that leads you into maybe holding the bottle in your hand, maybe holding the product in your hand for whatever product it is, and having, starting a relationship. You're not there yet. The brand hasn't convinced you yet. It's once you try it, and once you go back to the store and there it is, and maybe you look online, maybe the benefits are there, and then you start establishing a relationship. That is your brand. That is not it has its importance to do with the logo and the concept, but the brand is gonna it's a little bit more. It's what everything is telling you. So one thing you have to consider taken into the packaging format. One thing you have to consider when you're creating a package is that whatever research, stick to your research, whatever you found there that the consumer likes. And if I, for example, if I say we're making a product for motorcycle lovers and Harley Davidson type of, what type, how it tends to look, and you have some certain colors that come into mind and things, and that's usually what the person relates to. So it's very dangerous and very common, really, to say, oh, I want to do something totally different. I want to be, unique. And that's something we definitely hear a lot. But think about the how people relate to that product. And if you're going to be really different and you want to be, you know, off the wall, something, I want to create something that's never been out there, you have to introduce that as like a foreign person, a foreign friend who just came from, you know, the Netherlands or someplace that they don't really know that much about. So it takes a little bit more effort on creating that concept to get that consumer to. You have 3 or 5 seconds for a consumer to make up their mind, and you're introducing a foreign person to them in a matter of speaking. So when you want to do something really different, which is very common, and I understand as an artist, I mean, that's really how you start thinking, I'm going to make things that's never been seen before. But there's certain patterns you have to follow. It's a rule of thumb. And again, there's usually large amounts of money being involved, and it's usually a team also that's developing this. So stick to your research, and you know, there's certain rules of thumb, there's certain colors, there's certain trends and things I mentioned that you have to I recommend that you have to fall back onto. So there's reasons why sometimes you see, you know, the same type of bottle and from huge corporations that say you're developing a beverage, and of course you're not directly going to compete with companies like Coke, but you see that they come up with a bottle that's usually, you know, it's very familiar, and that there's a reason and a psychological reason for that, and sometimes it's because you have 3 seconds, and I think it's actually been shortened this last couple of years because people already know what they want, and they have certain information that are and things that are going to trigger that consumers, you know, to buy. So fall back on research. You know, I know that if there's in the audience, if there's artists right now, if you want to be really different, and just remember that the patterns and are there for a reason. It's important, even if before you break all the rules in design, which is really an awesome thing, and I encourage it, but before you even go there, you have to learn the patterns and the trend and the brand and the type of people you're trying to market. So that's very important before you go on paper.
So some takeaways here that I got. Your brand is not your logo, and another big takeaway is a brand and a package is a relationship. So that's very important. It's not a logo, and it is a relationship. So what it is and what it's not. And we covered idea, we covered research a lot. We're going to start with design and talk a little bit about design and the process behind designing and going to production. Mm-hmm. And we have different things. We're going to touch on some of them. There's many more, but too many probably. So we're going to talk a little bit about brand development, design, proofing, and print process. So this is a little bit now more hands-on of what goes into a product. So Victor, we already said we're going to research, and more research. We research online. We research in the stores. And for our audience, remember something. You research not only to find your competition, but to find why your competition failed. If there's no competition, there's a problem. It's not good. It's actually bad. So find out what happened to the competition, because if maybe they were there before. And if you start speaking with retailers and distributors, they will tell you, oh, we tried that 10 years ago, it didn't work, and you thought you had an original idea. But we start with research, Victor, then we go into brand development. So that is what we do in our process is we sit down with the entrepreneur, with the director of the brand, depending on the size of the company. If it's a small company, it's usually with the entrepreneur directly. If it's a Fortune company, they have a project manager most of the time, and then the project manager has designers, engineers, research teams, etc. Mm-hmm. But we do the same scenario. We sit down with them, we discuss what we want, what's the goal of this. That's the first thing, and that goes into brand development. What's the goal? Well, the goal is to sell. Yeah, but how? Are you selling with direct marketing, direct advertising, infomercials? Is this going to pharmacies and drugstores? Is it going to supermarkets? Is it going overseas? Is this for a club store like a Costco? What is the target? Is it a company that's going to be sold? Are you looking for investment? Is this a trial, a pilot program that you're going to do to see if you can get buy-in from the VP? And then we start. Once we find the goals, then we start with brand development. And this is the big picture. Again, we're not designing yet. This is the big picture where we're working with the umbrella and we're shooting ideas. And then after we go, after we leave that meeting, then Victor and myself and the rest of the team go into another meeting on our own and do the same thing, start coming up with ideas, speaking with a couple of distributors and retailers, see what they think. Once we have all of that, we present some of the ideas to the client. And this is where we started with design. Victor, did I miss something here?
No, I think we're there, and this is when we start showing some visuals to the customer, the client. Again, like I mentioned, sometimes we get customers that already have a logo, they already have a name, and at that point we take that into consideration. A logo, for instance, tells us a lot about what's the look and feel of the brand. But in order to develop a product, after we again have all our research together, we start usually with a proof, Jorge, to just make sure, because your brand can have sometimes they have brand extensions, they want to develop something into a product line, and something that's very important you mentioned, Jorge, is like, where is your company headed? Do you see your product? So if once you answer those questions, they're very important. You put it into a look and feel. So to make sure that the design of the product, the designers, and the brand proposition is what the customer wants. First, you explain what first you explain what you're doing in a matter of visuals. And what I like to do is show them a couple of rough drafts. And this is something that before I even start designing the label, I'll create a proof of concept. And what I'll do is I will not be thinking about the UPC at this point. I'm not thinking about the nutrition facts. I'm not thinking about the package, the warehousing and distribution. I'm really looking more into the concept. So that really has, in my experience, help us save time and money. And we will show the customer, hey, this is, here are a couple of 2 or 3 options, not more. It gets confusing for any designer in the audience. They know what I mean. If you show usually show the more than 3 to even 5 options at tops, you start confusing the customer. So what I like to do in the process is show them. Let's say I'm developing again a certain product. I'll show a label, and they could be from even sketches done on pencil, and adding just some quick colors on the computer, or something's just grabbing an already existing image, and putting their logo on top of it, and just some text behind it. So they know what kind of directions we're headed. And the reason for that is the information that comes after that is really important and key, because one, you as a designer or whoever is developing as a project manager even, you have, or as a brand director, you have an idea of what the consumer wants. They already gave you their feedback, and of what the and at the same time, your customer has an idea and of what to expect, and they start looking at it and start giving you feedback, valuable information. So the first thing I would suggest as far as packaging is don't put your 30, 40, 50, 100 hours to a label or project that you're not sure if the customer is going to like that, even though you're probably right because you've done the research. And I would suggest do a rough draft, and at that point show it to the customer, and you'll really get some information that will help you guide you throughout the next steps.
And also, some of the process that you take, you were telling me the other day about the processes that you take. You've done very complex projects where you have a buying office maybe in China and a designer here, production facility somewhere else. And you told me that sometimes you video record as proofing and do other things like that. Tell us about that in order to be successful with the proof, because that's where a lot of mistakes are made, right?
Correct. And this is what I would say this is one of the most important in the process and in designing the process, because this will give you a sense of direction. And the key word here is communication. This is really the way you are communicating with the customer. And an example that I recall was when we were talking, it was I was developing a product line. It was a health product line for Walgreens in this case. So I'm talking to developers in China, and I noticed that what they had told me over the phone in conferences, I really did not. There was a language barrier. I did not fully understand what they were saying, but there was also some thinking process that was totally different. So what I started to do, and this is something when we're working, especially with product engineers, that I started recording myself, which was not, which I know that I wasn't really interested in the video looking good, but I would take short videos of me after that, making to send that I know that, and I would send them the link over to the people in China, that after they saw that and after I explained, and they could look at it at their own pace and actually have the product in my hand, showing the guidelines and drawing on whiteboards what the certain ideas, make sure that we have that. We established a much better communication and managed to save time and money going back and forth, because you'll lose 2-3 hours, 2-3 days sometimes just to get an idea that was misinterpreted. And so, like, something working, and after that, Jorge, definitely working when I work overseas, and especially if there's a language barrier, I try to go ahead and do that. And it has really worked for me, and because of the communication and the importance of the communication. So, it's very, again, it's very, very important to try to do that in any way you can. You can take pictures,
Okay.
You can do drawings and things like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about everything that goes in, or not everything, but some of the things that we wrote here for our webinar. We have the strategy, the color scheme, the logo, the pricing is important. This is good to know for those listening. The pricing is a big deal when going into packaging. Why is that?
Yes, and because there's so many costs, and especially for graphic designers, Jorge, there's a lot of things that you'll think of this innovating and great idea to present the product that will go into the product, but then you find out it's too expensive. It's not going to hit the market at that price. It's not the printing's going to be too expensive, or maybe you thought of some add-ons that you wanted to include, but something that's very different and really separates the graphic designers from product graphic designers in packaging is the price. And that is because in the industry, we know that a couple of cents, if you're making 2 or 3 products or mock-ups, it doesn't really matter. But when you're talking about, in products even in the millions, we've done even any slight change will affect the end product, which will affect the consumer's buying decision. So if you are developing and you are the designer and you are developing the product, you have to take every cost under consideration. And if you're just designing the product and are not involved with pricing, I highly suggest to be involved and to know what is your budget, and you'll find yourself having to come up with clever ways to communicate what you want to the consumer. And sometimes it's not the best way. Us as graphic designers, we want a big budget, and we want to put on a show for each product that we do, and that's not always the case. It's really not. So it's very important to have a price and to know a little bit about the industry and how it works and how it affects. Price is always relevant and has to be.
Okay, so we have price, then we talked a little bit about branding strategy. Tell us a little bit about the color scheme.
Color scheme is, I think, like I mentioned a little earlier, how there's certain patterns on how you use your color scheme. There's certain, I would suggest to any designer or anybody developing a product to know a little bit about how color psychology works and how it triggers certain emotions that might help the consumer in that buying decision to make up their mind between your product and the competition, and also how it's kind of the balancing act with what they're used to and what is out there, because it's something that I've quickly found. The color psychology, even though it's out there and it's really extensive, sometimes you go into the product and say, hey, but they're not using the same colors, not using the same, and that is because people are already relating to a certain color scheme. So when you're choosing your colors, think again of the consumer, and again, a little research with color psychology, and look at the trends, what they wear, what they buy, what they read, and you'll find some patterns there that you can always use.
Okay, and we talked about already a little bit about branding strategy, pricing, then color scheme. We talked about what is and what is not a logo, and I think we can have a whole webinar on logos. And logo is just one part of the package. It's not the package. We already established it's one part of branding that we use.
Correct.
Okay. Now, one of the things that we always talk about, and we over talk about it with customers and with projects, is always look at the and we do tremendous research, and we study some more about consumer behavior. And that's why we focus so much on your target market and then move backwards, because for us, consumer behavior is very important. Yes, we take more into consideration than just consumer behavior, because we know the trade very well. We are entrepreneurs ourselves, and we own products, our own products. We've owned our own distribution companies as well, so we've dealt with distributors, and we still deal with wholesalers, distributors, because we sell to them every single day. So focus on your consumer. What do they want? Like this gentleman, what are they thinking? That's very important. Don't forget, maybe it's not the fun part for you, but it's going to be the fun part with sales. Victor, tell us a little bit about this client. This is a client that we did a webinar. We are very involved in different products. Tell us about the process that you took for this tea.
The Unity is something that we're involved since the beginning. We know it's a product that it's doing really good. It has been accepted by the consumers, and this product, this client in particular, is a very, very, very nice person, with very educated, and really had no idea. Even though he has a lot of information about marketing, he really had no idea how to introduce a new product. So again, it's one of those things that one of those customers who had an idea, but after we talked to them and give them a little bit of information of what's out there, it kind of transitioned. I think he started out trying to make a different product, and after the cost and what the consumer is buying, what they're doing, he moved over into a tea. And he has there's this great story behind this. Basically, how this came to happen is that a person in the Coachella Valley has acres of land, and he has palm trees with date seeds, and which is they grow them organically, and the whole family is involved. A really, really nice person that I met, and Felipe is his name. And what happened one day, he told me he went out and somebody had broken into his shack he had in the back. So he went out there and drove these guys away. And after that, I don't know if they set fire, but there was a fire in that. So he was he had to call the local fire station. The firefighters came out, they put it out, and he noticed there was a certain coffee smell out there. And he said, it took him like 2 days to figure out what it was, and what it was the roasted dates. And this is how great ideas, this is something I like, and that's why I wanted to talk about this product. And he noticed that the seed in the dates, which it had roasted in a coffee-like way. So it looked like coffee. It kind of smelled like coffee, but this is this is just some dates, and only like 2 or 3 trees have been burned down. So he noticed that where it was coming from. So he started experimenting with this, and noticed that he can do extracts, and he can grab certain he can make some beverages out of it. So that's where Larry found this person. He told him the story. Larry has some expertise with food, and so he grabbed this and tried to make this into something for the consumers. And it's really he talked to us about it, and we were looking for a name that would work in a couple of languages and certain colors. And what we found is something that was we try to keep it very simple, nice and clean, and also try to educate the consumer on what the benefits for something like this, because this is something relatively neat, for as far as dates have been around for ages, and we see them even in books, in old books as Fruit of the Kings, and because they have so much benefits for our body. So we try to incorporate that into a new concept, new category of its own. And so we started out choosing, again, the bottle, the flavors, and all throughout the process, I sent him some proofs, and he wanted that natural, clean feel, always incorporating, certain in aspects of design, always having certain opinions of it. And one of the things, if you notice, I think on the picture there's a heart, and this you can't really see on the picture. The heart is made out of the date seeds. That really, really, if you look at it, they're kind of like a long coffee bean, if you would. So we try to take advantage of that. Took some pictures, and again, the product is everywhere. It's being it's fairly new, so it hasn't been out on the market that long. But it's something that I really like. I like the client, I like the product, and it's being accepted very well for the for the consumer. So we expect we hope to see this in a couple of and more stores very soon.
Yes, and we also handle sales and distribution. We're going after natural channel and already doing some tests in other places. And as you can see, they have two different ones. They have a ready-to-drink in a PET bottle, and then they have the one this one you actually put in your coffee maker, and you make it like coffee. So you buy it in the supermarket or coffee shop, you take home, and you brew it yourself. The other one is ready to drink. So very interesting product, very different in the approach Victor took for product development. Then here's one that's a little bit different as well. Tell us about this one, Victor.
Well, this is something that really has not it fully hit the mark, and this product in particular, we're very excited, and this is a vodka liquor, and we had the idea a while ago from a customer that he wanted to do something with a beverage, with a vodka beverage, and he actually had access to, in this case, Rodman. Dennis Rodman is about to introduce a vodka that's very soon going to hit the market. And I love basketball. I was really excited about this. So it's something that I researched in my end. Why it's a lot of people think of a person like Dennis Rodman, who's going to be active in selling the product and having it publicly known, but something that I had to really study, and it's very common that you have misinterpretation. A lot of people can think of a person like Dennis Rodman, which and think of a bull, and they think, oh, Chicago Bulls, and it's really because if you learn a little bit about him, and he has a children's book, and he has a couple of things, or if you read some of his books, you'll notice that it's because that this is zodiac sign, and why he likes that, and why it's out there. It was important to cater to him as well as to cater to the consumer, which is having the right product, a good product, and again, knowing the price is very important. This is not at a high-end product, but at the same time giving the most for that price. So this is something I can't really give out all the details because it's about to hit the market. So there's a couple of things you'll learn after its release, but this is something that is we're very proud of, and hopefully we get to see it soon.
That's great, Victor, and I want to have some time for questions because it's already been an hour,
okay.
And a lot of people have scheduled their time on this. So now we're gonna ask our listeners to ask you questions, and they can ask questions through the chat. And again, we don't have to say their names. They can be private, and we'll just answer the question. It is moderated, so I will see the questions before. You can ask whatever you want. And one of the questions you can ask, a lot of people say, can I ask everything? Yes, you can ask. You can ask about your product. You can ask about other people's product. You can ask about sales. You can ask about distribution. You can ask about branding, logo, packaging, colors, merchandising, placing product in stores, whatever you want. And one of the questions is, will we be able to get a copy of this presentation? This presentation is being recorded, and you'll get an email on how to get quotations for free. People who are here right now on the presentation will be there for free. Later on, it will become available for sale, but because you're here, they'll give you an opportunity, and you'll get an email from me or from somebody in the office so that you can get the video, the entire video for free. You can accelerate it, you can pause it, you can do whatever you want. And other videos as well. Remember, we have a whole library of videos on how to develop a unique selling proposition, how to sell to convenience stores, how to sell to supermarkets, everything that you can imagine. We have on videos, or we will produce videos. And usually they'll become available maybe by tomorrow. So we always take only one day. Let me see, we have some other questions here. And we have somebody from Washington. Mark, welcome.
Hey, Mark.
Okay, we have one question. And by the way, it's about formulation. We are going to have a webinar on formulation as well. Let me see, for formulation on a beverage, can we do it at home? Ooh, that's a good question. Okay. The question is, can we do a kitchen table formulation? Can you formulate something at home for starters? You can do whatever you want. You can make it at home, and there's some case studies of companies that actually brewed tea at home and then sold it to Coca-Cola. So yes, it is possible. Now, there's something that you have to consider when you do this. When you do something at home, that's not your formula. So you do it at home, and then we still have to hire, or you still have to hire a lab like ourselves. You have to hire us or somebody like us to do your formulation, because you cannot go to a co-packer with your formula and tell them, this is what I did, please put it in the bottle. That doesn't work.
No.
We have to go through so this is what we do. You give us your formula. We take that formula, and then we put it under the microscope, and we get all the elements. We quote the ingredients that you will need for your formula, and we tell you how much it's going to cost to the consumer. So this is the price to the consumer. Let's say you're using some very special ingredients, and now your product is $4. You're going to say, no, I want my product to be $2. So then we're going to tell you, you need to cut the agave or whatever you're using. But then we reformulate it. Once we have the formula, then we buy all of the ingredients, and we send the specifications with every single ingredient to the co-packer. The only thing that they do is they mix in a batch, and they put it in your bottle. Everything else you have to do. So a co-packer does not formulate, and they will not buy the ingredients for you. All of that is done separately. The co-packer just wants to pack. It is a very good question. And now, will it taste exactly like it tasted in the kitchen table? No, it will not, because we have to consider if we have preservatives or if we have a different process.
Calories.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that, Victor.
Yeah.
We have to measure the calories. That's a great point, Victor. We have to measure the calories and make sure that it fits the right target market. If it has 300 calories and you want to pursue the natural channel, it's not going to happen. So a lot of considerations there. This is why you can't do it just from your kitchen table. Another question is, how do we work with the label lawyer so that we have all of the requirements from the FDA, and how long does it take? That's an awesome question. I'll do my experience, and then you can tell them your actual experience from some of the last projects working with attorneys and label lawyers. But this is the big picture is the FDA will not look at your label and approve it. That's a misconception. They will not look at your label and approve it. Your attorney will guide you on what you need to do. So they will interpret FDA rules and then tell you what you can or cannot do. That's number one. Then number two, the FDA will not actually approve your formula or your product. That's done through the co-packers. So the co-packers and the people who sell you the ingredients must be FDA compliant. And they are the ones producing it. Their co-packing facility must be compliant. And the same with organic. They have to be compliant, organic, etc. Now, I know that you have some experience working directly with label lawyers. Tell us about some of your experience and how long does it take?
I'll try to get a bit short because for all the graphic designers and product designers, this is where you get sometimes, if you have an ego going into your design, you're going to get a little chopped down here. And what happens is there's certain requirements that there's font size, color, and spacing that go into this. And it really varies also working with different label lawyers. It's very different, my experience from one to another. But the guidelines are there, and you know, if you have a certain font that you like, you know, they'll really come in. They'll literally come in and say that is not the correct size for that font. You have to make it bigger, and sometimes throwing off your whole design and unbalancing that balanced perfection that you had, you know, already spent 3 hours on. And they'll come in and say, you know what, you cannot do that, or you need to put X, Y, and Z in the front, and that again will throw you off on your design. So it's good there's actually some information out there before you even start the design process that you should go ahead and get and just read through it, and you should be able to have some at least a really close idea of what you're trying to do before you even turn it into that save you some time and money as well. And you know, and the other thing is, don't be too bummed out to say it in a way if you hear you cannot do that. No, you cannot mention the calories in the front. You have to mention this size or whatever it is.
Okay, perfect. Let me move to the next question. We have quite a few questions. Some are very specific to packaging. We have one about the stock. I can't really discuss the stock over open air. If you want to call the office, you can call the office and we can discuss buying stock in a company, or you can buy it through your broker. But I can't talk about the stock. Another question is, somebody's starting an energy drink and they would like to know what the first step is. Well, the first step is you need to call the office and schedule a free consultation with one of our project managers, and then you can tell them about what you want to do, and they can tell you how you can work with us and what you can do and how long it's going to take, what type of budget you need for production and everything else. So that would be the first step, just to call, and just one call. If one call and it's free, you'll learn a lot. So
yeah,
call a lot. No, Victor?
Yeah, save yourself some money, and then honestly, if one other quick thing, we have just way too many customers who have come to us after they already had spent a lot of money, and it's sometimes it's really even tough to hear people who say, hey, you know what, I went ahead and hired this design company to do my product. Well, your design company never had any idea that the product was going to weigh that much, and that it's oversized when you're shipping it, and it doesn't work because it's not a cold fill or a hot filter, and things like this will save just like a consultation, just to talk to somebody who knows, really can save you some time and money. And I really, because there's so many great people that we've talked to that it's kind of sad to hear that they have spent all their money, sometimes their savings, and on trying to do something that they were either taken advantage of or just really didn't know enough about the industry and that they wanted to go in. So it's kind of, I really just suggest that. And
Okay. So call the office. That's a start, and it's free to call, and you'll learn a lot from 1 hour or 40 minutes on the phone. And then we have a designing question, Victor, a specific one. So this is for you. Why is everyone using is this Helvetica, or how do you read it, font?
That is a good question, and the reason that is, there's actually a documentary about the Helvetica. There's actually a documentary about this, and the reason is because it's so easy to read, and again, it's identifiable, and there's so many variations of that you can do that are still maintains a nice and readable format. So you'll look at that, and again, it's also a trend. Even though this was designed back in the early 70s, I think. If you want to learn more about that in particular, there's a documentary, and I suggest it's fun to watch. And if you are a designer, you're going to really enjoy it because they talk about different fonts and how that one was created and what happened after it was created. So, I mean, if you watch this film, it's probably like 45-minute long, and I think, don't quote me on that, but I enjoyed it. So. And so there's a documentary out there that will do a much better job at explaining. But again, think of that there is that how fonts really determine kind of a signature of it's kind of a picture in time. It's easy to see a font when it's retro and a font that's been used in in the 50s, 60s. Even if you really look, if you're a designer and always looking at fonts, you can see fonts that were used even 3 to 4 years ago, and know that it was used in that time. So as far as that one, it's really easy to read. It's simple. There is some genius behind the simplicity there. So I love it, but of course you can't use it for everything, and you just have to again think of the consumer.
Okay. And we have another question about production. Gina asks, when working with a co-packer, are they not likely to mix a product before they know for certainly it is FDA compliant? Well, remember the explanation that the product itself, the FDA is not going to look at your product and approve each product that comes into the market one by one. This is the burden is on you to make it compliant. Now, if you go through the proper channels and buy the ingredients through the proper channels and ship them correctly, they will co-pack it. If you buy your own ingredients on your own, go to the supermarket or something like this, they will not co-pack it because they're liable. They're liable, and it has to be purchased by through somebody who's compliant. So there's some methodology for this. Now, I think that the spirit of the question, it goes back to your original question. If you can start on your own a formula and take it all the way to production, no. It can be your formula, and then from there, we have to take it and make it industrial compliant. So it needs to be produced at a scale, and for that, it is no longer a kitchen table. Now, if you want it refrigerated in small batches and your kitchen is FDA compliant, then you produce it in your kitchen and then sell it fresh. That you can do that as well without a co-packer. But once you involve the trade, it has to be done correctly. And we have another question here, a few more. Mark would like a case study. Mark, there's a case study actually that's an hour long. We just did a case study last week on one of the products, actually on the product that you saw today. We did an entire case study. We interviewed the CEO and why he's working with us and his experience and what we did with his product. And also when you call the office and you start talking to our team, they'll send you everything that we do and how we do it with the timeline, and then they'll include a couple of case studies there. I don't know if it's 3 or 4, but you'll get some case studies there as well. But this one's better because it's 1 hour long. And then it's not only about the packaging and formulation, but it's how the entrepreneur came up with the idea, how he got the seed capital, how he started working, how he found us, why he's working with us, what's the next step, why he chose the natural channel, everything is there. So, just send an email or go through the website that you want the case study for the tea, and they'll get it to you. Okay. Somebody says, I'm afraid that my package design and labeling will not be perfect. How can I get away and move forward? How can I get away with it and move forward with my idea? Ooh.
Perfect, that word.
This is not an obstacle. This is something that it is a problem, and you can solve it, and it is very easy to solve, but you need to solve it. You don't want to move forward, and I just had a conversation today with one of my clients about this. You don't want to skip this. You can skip other things, don't skip this step, because like Victor said, this is not just a piece of artwork that you give your designer and put it up. This is actually the communication with your consumer. So your brand, your package is the communication with your consumer. It has to be perfect. You can't continue without being perfect on this front. What I suggest is that you give it to Victor and let him fix it if it's fixable, or start from scratch, or do something, but don't move forward if it's not ready. Because then what's going to happen is you're going to go to production, you're going to spend $100,000 instead of spending a little bit now. So the most expensive thing in this process is production, is inventory. And once you produce, once you have inventory, the clock is ticking. It might be a year, 6 months, or 2 years, but the clock is ticking. What that means, the clock is ticking, is you're going to lose 100% of your investment if you don't sell it. And if your packaging is not good, you're not going to sell it. So this is not a. I would suggest that you fix the problem before going forward.
And just a quick thing to that.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I've seen, and this is for, hopefully I can give some peace of mind, and I do encourage what Jorge said, because a lot of people, what they do, and Jorge, we also talked about how sometimes when they have a label design or something, they go around showing friends and their family, of course, and it is important. But sometimes they're not the person who's looking at the product. They're not really qualified, or even in the industry, to know, and they're giving some feedback, and it could be good or negative feedback. It doesn't really matter, but it kind of throws you off a little bit. Like, my cousin Sammy didn't like it, and I don't know if it's going to sell. Well, your cousin Sammy, he's a doctor, and he doesn't know really, or whatever other industry, he really doesn't know what's going to work. So, and it might be perfect. And this is very common, and I see a lot of people who have a piece of artwork. They go around showing it to people, and what they're getting is a lot of guesses, and they've got a lot of likes or don't likes, and there's more to that. So don't be encouraged. Don't be discouraged if somebody says I don't like it. Think about the target market. Think about what you can do, and again, try to sell you some money and let us know if there's something we can help, and for sure try it and let you know.
Okay, let's move to the next question. Can it be frustrating working with a label lawyer? Well, I think that's a trick question. That's a trick question. Do you mean lawyers as a whole, or just label lawyers? Listen, going through a legal process is frustrating to some people, and it is great for other people. Depends on your personality. My personality is that I need to get things it's done now. And I appreciate what all of our attorneys do for us, label attorneys, trademark attorneys, all types of attorneys. But yes, it'll take longer, and times you have to learn what they're doing in order to compromise. Because sometimes we get, let's say, from one piece of document or even a label or a package, we might get a small package, and then we get 75 changes. There's not even 75 things in this package, and they request 75 changes. After we call them and we tell them what are the ones required by law, maybe it's 10. And then the other ones were suggestions or graphic card suggestions. And then we tell them, well, let's make a deal. I will tell you about lawyering, and you don't tell us about designing. So you just need to establish clear communication and always ask the question. But this is in everything in life, not just with suppliers. Is that necessary? Is that a suggestion? Is that legal, illegal? You just have to start a conversation. Yeah. Is it an opinion, or is it required, or is it, you would like it this way, or you think it's more appealing to the consumer? Just have a conversation, and then you'll be okay. James asks if he's going to do a small run of production, if he should sell directly to consumers or retailers. James, it depends on your strategy. I would like to know what is your strategy and what is your funding. If you have the funding, go after distributors. You don't need to do a small run and distribute it on your own. Just put it through distributors, because that's the way you grow exponentially. If you go to your local convenience stores, you're never going to grow exponentially. If you sell it directly to consumers, you're never going to grow exponentially unless the business model, selling through direct response, maybe infomercial. But if your model is to sell through retailers, well, you need retailers and you need distributors. Now, if you don't have the money, then get the money, because you will not be able to supply to distributors with one product and make money. Delivering one case of product to one store, even 2 or 3, loses money for your company. So you will be losing money if you do that, not making money. Now, why would you do it? In case you have a distributor that wants accounts. Then I would validate that. If you want a distributor account, they're asking you for 20 accounts or 200 accounts, and you need to open these stores to get that distributor, then I would say yes. If that's your entire strategy to have self-distribution, then do the numbers, because it's really hard to do self-distribution. Okay, we have another question. If a beverage claims to have anti-aging properties, do we have to go through the FDA? You have to go through FDA guidelines no matter what you do. Everything has to be under FDA guidelines. Now, you need to speak with an attorney, because we cannot give legal advice and we're not attorneys. What we can tell you is anything you do has to be FDA compliant, no matter what it is. Now, if you start talking about claims and things like this, you have to go through an attorney, no matter what. You or Victor do a lot of revisions with other designers, or when other designers screw it up? Victor, do we do a lot of revisions? Or I don't think so, right? A lot of times we have to redo, right?
We have to, yeah. It kind of falls back onto consulting, and they have shown us some things, and we will do some consulting. As far as revisions, there's only really been a handful.
Okay. And like expert opinion is more the right word. So we'll give them their expert opinion on what they have.
I would think so. A lot of people want, as a peace of mind, what do you think about this? And we'll give our opinion. That's fine. But it's usually we create from, if we're creating the product from scratch, we know what we are looking for. So.
Okay. What is the shelf life of a hot filled product? It depends on the product. So we need to know the product, and actually we need to know the ingredients as well. So that's very specific to what we're doing. Another question. What's your thoughts of expanding a product line but rolling out additional flavors in a new size of packing, a smaller one, and keeping the original flavor the same size? That's a tricky question because we need to know your business model. We need to know your sales. We need to know your scope penetration before we give about that type of advice because it depends on that. Just by reading the question, say no, don't do it unless I'm missing something. Because if this product is already in the stores and you have consumers, they're going to look for this product. Now, if you're targeting kids, or if you're targeting lunch boxes, or if you're then it's a different story. But knowing nothing else, that would be my answer. To do a proper answer, I need to know a lot of things. I need to know what's your product. I need to see your product. I need to see your store penetration, how many distributors you have, how many cases you sell per store per week, and a lot of different things. So you can call the office and we can go through this before you need to do another extension. So easier to talk, just that spend a lot of money for line extension. We have a wine company from Europe, and they want to learn about developing a label in the United States and penetrating the American market. Yeah, you call the office and talk to one of our project managers. They can start you with explaining to you the import process, because you need to know and make sure that you want to go through the import process and how it works in the U.S., how distribution works in the U.S. And we do work with wine and spirits as well. So call the office.
And we have done it in the past. To add to that. Yeah.
How do you protect your ingredients from a co-packer? Co-packers don't care about your ingredients. They only care about co-packing. They don't care about your formula. They don't care about your ingredients. And the only way you can really protect it is if you discovered an ingredient, or if you have some sort of a patent on a drug or something like that for your formula. Other than that, it's just an ingredient. Anybody can make it. Your unique selling proposition is not your ingredients, and it's not your formula. Your unique selling proposition is a lot of things. We have a video on unique selling proposition, and one of the things that I say in that video is, it's not your formula. Call the office and get the video. It's a free video on how to develop a unique selling proposition. Somebody's introducing a rum. No, we have not done research on the Caribbean. But it is not a very large market, so I think you can do research very easy even on your own on that market. I don't think you'll have a hard time doing research on your own on the Caribbean market. We can help you, of course, but I would start asking a few of the stores and maybe a few of the distributors, and then take it from there. Okay, let me see. And by the way, if somebody wants to see a particular webinar in the future to cover a certain topic, also let us know here in the chat, and we'll cover it. If you say, you know what, I can't find information on formulation, I can't find information on selling to convenience stores, selling to pharmacies, or what's the difference between this product and that product, or this market and that market, or exporting, or whatever you think is important, other people probably think it's important as well. Don't forget also to a lot of these questions are in my book, Build Your Beverage Empire. So if you haven't gotten a copy, get a copy of Build Your Beverage Empire. I lowered it all the way down to $2.99 on Kindle. Amazon did not allow us to give it away for free. Otherwise, we would. They didn't even allow us to give it away, sell it for 99 cents. $2.99 is the lowest on Kindle. It's also very low on paperback. It'll save you a ton of money and a ton of time. So get the book, continue listening to these free webinars. And if you want a custom webinar on a topic that you like or that you want to learn more, let us know. And we'll do one just for you. And we'll invite other people, of course, but we'll cover your topic. If you have the question, other people have the question as well. Okay, I think that's all for the question. If we missed a question, if you wake up in the middle of the night and have another question, email us, call us, go to the blog, go to the website, put your comment there. If you think of a cool webinar, let us know. If you want to talk about a product, a process, sales, distribution, also let us know. Just because we didn't cover it here doesn't mean we can't help you or cover or answer your question. Victor, thank you very much for spending so much time with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jorge, and thank you to everybody listening. And I hope this was what you expected. And I know we talked about maybe having more topics in the future. So thank you very much, Jorge, for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everybody, for spending your time with me and with Victor. We love that you put time aside to spend it with us. You know your time is very valuable, and I feel very good that you spent it with me. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.
Okay.